Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I know it's the end of April. We're getting to the end of the school year. It's a very busy time. We have three great presenters today, and these individuals are going to share some new ideas, and we're going to actually have time to play today, too, which is great. Our first presenter is Pudenz from Coon Rapids-Bayard. She is going to talk about the work that she does over there, and we're going to focus on playing or learning, both. A couple things before we get started. Sorry for those of you who don't know much about Heartland. Right out these doors are the restrooms, and then right down the hallway and to the right is there's a vending machine in there as well, so if you need any snacks. We are going to have breaks between the presenters, and we'll have some time to reflect at the end. And this is the last TIC of the season, and next year we will get you the schedule as soon as we can. Thank you.
All right, good morning. Can you hear me okay? Is that on? Okay. I am Pudenz from Coon Rapids-Bayard. I am the 512 Business and Technology teacher, and next year I will be the tech integrationist for the district as well through the TLC grant. I'm very excited about that new role that I will be in next year. So today I just wanted to really focus on, are we learning or are we playing, or are we doing both? And this whole idea came about when I was at ITech this past year. I was going to a lot of sessions about the maker space and the maker movement, and then just having kids be very creative and tinkering and really critically thinking on their own and coming up with their own content and figuring things out on their own. So I took that back to my district and I said, hey, I want all these really cool tech toys to kind of build upon that idea that I had. And luckily, I have a very supportive IT director, and he's like, I don't know what you're going to do with this, but whatever, I'll find money in the budget for you. And so he did, and it has changed my classroom. I got these implemented in about December into my tech classrooms, and the engagement and just the critical thinking is, I'm extremely happy with what it has gone on in my classroom. So the first one is Sphero. How many of you guys have ever seen or heard of Spiro? Okay, a few of you. So Spiro is a programmable ball. It's a robotic ball, and it just really focuses on programming, critical thinking, problem solving, and so it does connect through Bluetooth. It just timed out on me. And what I do with this is I get kids in groups and I have them work through mazes on my floor with just like painter's tape. You see I have some mazes over there we're going to play with later. And so as a team, they have to figure out how are you going to program it to get through this maze. And it's just more than that. It's coming up with the math. They're always talking, well, what angle do I need to turn it at? So they're critically thinking about that. And then also there's so many other ideas in the lesson plans that I'll show you in a little bit that deal with like physics or any kinds of math. So it is very cross-curricular, and you can use it in a variety of different ways. And of course, it's not working when I want it to. Give me a second. And then also, it's just super fun to just be driving around. So kids have fun with that as well. Kids are just like us, we want to kind of play with it first. So before I ever have them start the maze work, I always just say, okay, get it out of your system. Just go drive around with it. And then, of course, it's not connecting. I'll get it in a second. Well, while I'm trying to connect it, I'll have you guys watch this 1-minute video about this freak. Okay, so you can definitely see some other ideas on how you can implement it. And here this goes into a little bit more about the programming and the coding behind it. It is drag and drop programming. However, you can also then see the actual code behind it. So it depends on the level of learners that you have as to which one is more appropriate, but it does do both.
When you're a kid, learning and playing always seem to be on opposite sides. But we believe we can change that. Meet Spiro Spark Edition, the playful robot that makes programming fun and offers challenges for every skill level. Spark began as a local meetup group where we taught kids how to code. A year later, we launched a series of free lessons, enabling students and teachers to discover all that's possible with the Sphero ball. Now, as we face a future where coding will be as important as reading and writing, we want to give everyone the opportunity to learn the language of tomorrow. In the box, you'll find Spiro Spark Edition, an induction charger, and a few other handy tools to help you get creative. The ball itself comes packed with all the same sensors and electronics as Sphero 2.0, but unlike Sphero 2.0's white shell, we've encased Spark Edition in clear polycarbonate, bringing you closer to the robotic action. Get started by downloading the Spark app and connecting to your ball via Bluetooth. If you're new to coding, learn some basic principles by first exploring the sample programs. Then, set off to create your very own, using drag and drop commands like roll, spin, flip, and color change. At any time, you can even access the actual code behind the blocks and get a sense of how text-based programming operates. If you need a break from coding, turn your device sideways to just drive, or tap on the Community tab to see what others are creating. Spark Edition is also compatible with all of the other games and apps already available for Spiro. We have big plans for Spark Edition, so be sure to check for updates. It's time to break the rules about learning. So fire up your imagination and begin exploring robotics, programming, and so much more.
Okay, so now I've got it connected. And so it is just a programmable robot, and you can, like they said, you can change the light show. You can program it to do anything you want it to do. As you can see in the video, they had to go through obstacle courses. And it's so funny when I have the students work on this. They're like, well, it's not going where I want it to go. And I always joke with them, and I said, this is the perfect student. It is going to do exactly what you ask it to do and tell it to do with the program. And so it's just so interesting and like so neat for me to, as a teacher, to be listening to their conversations of what they're having and like how they need to problem solve and go about it. Or if there is issues, how are they going to solve it? Because I am there as a guide, but this is really about their learning, and so I'm having them really take charge of this and, you know, go through that stage where it might even be frustrating for a while, but how are you going to go through it to eventually get your end result, which is to successfully get through the maze or any other task that I give them with it. So this is extremely fun, and then later on I'll have you guys try to program it to go through the maze. I would suggest if you get a Sphero, I would get the clear carbonate or the clear carbon ones that they said. That way you guys can see the inside. I have kids all the time, they'll just be sitting there just like looking at it. So I would get the clear shell. And then I would join the Spark Lighting Lab. It is better if you open this on your iPad, but what you can see is there is different activities here that you can assign them. You can have them into groups, and then you can just assign certain groups within your class to work on a certain challenge. And there is also like an Explore tab. So if you're not sure how to do something, like you don't know how to make it program a figure 8 pattern, you can go and look and find how can you do a figure 8 pattern, and then look and see what was the code, and then learn from other people that have uploaded their stuff into here. So like one of them, here's a STEM challenge. So if you want to do a chariot race with the Sphero, so it goes about like how are you going to make your chariot, you know, what's a little bit of the background there. So, you know, with the gladiators, how they had those, and you can go about how you're going to build it. So it's incorporating more elements of STEM in there. And like I said, under the Explore tab, that's where if you don't know how to do something, you can then click on it and open it up. And if you open it up in the app, it'll actually just show you the code. here if you click download, it just downloads to your computer and it doesn't really do anything. But if you download it to your iPad, then you can see it, and then you can actually have it do a test run of whatever that program is. And then if you want to copy it, you can copy it and then manipulate it however you want. There is also some lesson plans that are provided. You just download them right here. And that's where I said there's a lot of cross-curricular. So I downloaded a few, and you can see there's like speed, time, and distance. So you can get into like some of the physics. There's geometry, percentages, all that kind of stuff. So when I open up the time, speed, and distance one, there's always just an intro. So if they've never done anything with a Sphero, it's like how to connect it to Bluetooth. So it gives them just that background knowledge on how to work it. But then there's always a student guide and a teacher's guide. So you open it up. It talks about, it guides them through what is their task with this lesson. And then there is always a recording sheet for them as well. So if you're going to do that, that's a great place to start. There's some free lesson plans for you out there.
We have a question for you via Zoom.
Yes.
How many Spheros do you recommend for a classroom? So how many do you have, or
right now, I have 2 of them. However, I requested next year, as being a tech integrationist, by getting an education pack of 12. And each individual one is, if I get it like this, it's $130-ish. And then if you get the educator pack, I think it drops to about $100 per Sphero. So it is a little bit of an investment, but I think it's definitely worth it.
Thank you.
And then also, I'm a big follower of Vicki Davis. She's a business teacher, but she also does a lot of very innovative things like this. And so she just had some tips on how to use robotics in the classroom. And she has really cool, it's like an 8-minute video on there about how she's using programming. So I encourage you to look at that at your own, on your own time. But, just starting simple. Build this program. It's not going to happen overnight. So that is Sphero. Oh, and then here's just a quick video, because like I said, I do mazes on my floor in my classroom, and kids have to collaborate to get it through. Now, the first time they got this through, I knew it because immediately, like, the room erupted. They were all cheering because it is. You have that frustration. It's like, why didn't it do this? So they have to figure it out. So when they finally got it, and it took them about 2 days together to work it out, but they were super excited.
It's fine. Yeah, it's good. Ready? Go. 3, 2, go.
We're recording. Okay, you can get rid of the link now. I'm recording. Yes.
And I know it seems like a simple maze, but if you look at the program behind it, there's about 30 steps that they had to do to successfully get it all the way through the maze. So very proud of them. And I do this kind of stuff, even though I'm 5'12", my technology classes are 5'8". So that's how those are structured. The next one is Cubelets. How many of you guys have heard of Cubelets? Okay, only 2. Okay, so Cubelets are little robotic boxes. They just snap together, and you have to have them in the correct format to, make something work. And so when you put them together to make it complete a task, it's called a critter. And so, for example, this one, I have a sensor on it, so it can sense when something is in front of it, and then it will go toward that object. There is also like a flashlight, and there's also a light sensor, so like if it doesn't have light, then it shuts off. This is just a intro pack. It's 6 of them, and they cost about $150. The really cool ones, the engineering pack, it costs about $1,200, but you get about 30 of these interchanging blocks for you to, be creative with. They also do come with little cheat cards, so you, the instructor, can look through and kind of find out some of the ways you can put them together. At first, I don't give these to the students because I want them to figure out what do each of the blocks do, and how can you manipulate it, what can you do different to make it do different tasks. So I'll say, so if they get this one figured out how to move it, then I'll be like, okay, well, how do you use the flashlight? How are you going to use your light sensors? So that is another one I've been using in the classroom.
Complexity in the natural world is fascinating, don't you think? In the most complex systems, we can look deeper to find a network of interacting elements. Little beings dancing in a loving scientific hopscotch, using their tiny little brains to make the most wonderful things happen. Together. Hello, friends. Would you like to see my latest invention? It's really something of wonder. Come, see Cubelets. This is Cubelets, a robot construction kit I built with nature in mind. Now I want to share them with you. Cubelets are for you to play with. They're a system of interlocking, interacting friends who help you create robotic good times. Just like you and bumblebees do. Each cubelet has a name and a function. It's important to know what they do individually so that you can snap them together into robots. There are 3 types of cubelets. Action cubelets do things. They're like outputs. They're like your arms or your voice. Sense cubelets pay attention to things. They're like inputs. They're like your sense of sight, hearing or touch. Think cubelets are smart. They can do math or logic functions. They're like simple little brains.
But what can we do with the cubelets?
Oh! Cubelets can be arranged in a variety of ways to make all these robots. I'll show you some of my favorite ways to build fun. Simple critter. This is a simple reactive robot that drives in a line if it gets an input. We can make a simple critter out of only 3 cubelets. Drive, battery and distance. Snap a distance, drive and battery together. The robot scoots away if you put your hand behind it. So add a second drive for stability. If you flip the distance sensor, the robot will drive towards objects instead of away from them. Turn one of the drive blocks 90 degrees and it spins instead of driving. Doubling the first robot makes steering behavior. The marsupial is like a simple critter, but we're using a temperature cubelet instead of a distance. It thrives in warm environment. Breathe on it and it comes alive. You see, there's a million ways for cubelets to work together. If you come back again, I'll show you more. Cubelets are now ready to ship. If you'd like to receive your own set, please visit us on the World Wide Web.
So as you can see, there's a lot more you can do with cubelets than just what I have here, with my little 6-pack of them. However, I did apply for the governor's STEM grant, and I did receive that. And so I will be getting one of those 30 packs for next year. And so it'll be really interesting to see what I can do with those. I have seen those demoed. There's a lot more options and, well, just like you saw, a lot more functionality with them. So that'll be very interesting. I'm really excited about that for school next year. And so this is one they just were able to construct, so I just quickly filmed it. So, cubelets, I would say, my 8th graders were still really impressed with them. They liked playing with them. However, the 5th graders, those are the ones that really enjoyed using cubelets. And then there are some lesson plans out on cubelets as well on that link. And so, there's also a community you can subscribe to the blog and get more ideas on how they're just integrating that with STEM. Because, yeah, the educator pack that I was talking about, it is $1,200 there. So it is a big investment if you're going to do that in your district. But I would suggest maybe starting off with a smaller pack and then building upon it. That's something you can always do. And the last one is probably my favorite. It's the Makey Makey. I know this has been around for a while, but this is new to our district as well. So I'm sure I can get a lot of ideas from you guys on how to use the Makey Makey. For those of you that don't know what it is an inventor's kit, so you can turn anything into a touchpad for your computer. So right now I have things hooked up to bananas up here, and so I can play the piano with my bananas up here. So here's the demo video for that.
Hi, I'm Jay.
And I'm Eric. We're graduate students at MIT Media Lab.
We have a dream that everyone is an inventor. So we created Makey Makey to let you invent just by alligator clipping. Alligator clips stuff like bananas to your Makey Makey. When you touch the banana, your computer just thinks you're touching the keyboard. The front has arrow keys, spacebar, and mouse left click. When you're ready for more, flip the Makey Makey over and you've got more keyboard keys and support for the mouse. You can even use the board like an Arduino when you are ready. No programming, no breadboarding. You don't even have to install software. Just plug it in USB.
Order your Makey Makey today and start changing how the world works.
Boing, 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 ding, 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 ding.
Okay, so, it's just like they said, you can click, connect anything to it and make it interactive. Like students love this one probably by far the most because they're always hooking it to just random items around my classroom. They're like, why won't this work? Why does this work? And so just, again, hearing the conversation that they're having and critically thinking as to why something will or won't work is really encouraging to hear. They wanted to do the Dance Revolution, with water buckets. Well, we can't do that in the classroom, but we made foot pads, which I do have over there, so you can hook that up later on. You can do it with Play-Doh. I do have bananas hooked up right now. And so, like, if I go out to GarageBand, I can actually play the bananas. Oop, I connect them. So the very first time you ever do that in your classroom, kids are going to be floored. First off, they didn't believe that I was actually doing it, and so I had them come up and touch the bananas themselves. But you want to talk about engagement. This is going to be great for your classroom because students are going to be very engaged when they are trying to figure these things out. It's very hands-on learning. And then this is where they just took Play-Doh in my classroom, and then they played Mary Had a Little Lamb with Play-Doh. And that was a 7th grader that did that. And, again, we were talking about them figuring out on their own. It is not me saying, hey, clip these wires like this. It is them, here's your box, have fun. And again, I'm there as a guide, but I really want them to figure this out. So it actually took them about 2.5 days to successfully do that. And, you're there as a guide, so when the frustration gets high, then you come in. I always heard it was kind of like, with Luke Skywalker, you got to be kind of like Yoda. When he really needed you the most, you kind of swoop in. So you let them have a little bit of frustration. That way they truly, have tried everything, but not to the point where they, give up. And then I've always asked them, I'm like, are you glad that you had to figure it all out yourself versus me telling you how to do it? Every single group has said yes. Like I said, there has been frustration there, but they said overall they are so happy that I had to force them to figure it out as a group and work collaboratively there. And there are a bunch of group activities and lesson plans out there for Makey Makey as well. You know, you can create a musical room, the scratch operation, that looks really fun. I'm thinking about doing that next year. And so there's so many ideas out there, and if you just Google it, there's a lot of blogs out there, what other people have done with MakeyMakey. I know some of you guys said in here you've done MakeyMakey, so I'm sure you guys have some great ideas you can share as well. And so, you know, I'm just really big on the 21st century skills. So, you know, are they being creative in the classroom? With these items, they definitely are. You know, are they collaborating with their peers? Absolutely, because I have them in groups, but then they're also just going out and, you know, talking to other groups. What did you do that worked? They're problem solving and critically thinking all the time while they're using these tools. So that's really what I was trying to do in my classroom this year, especially with, after I went to TIC and saw all these tools. So are there any questions before I let you guys start playing with these? Yes. This is for my 5th through 8th grade technology, and I actually have them all in, it's one class period, so I only have them for about 25 days the entire school year. So I actually just do different rotations, and I also have a green screen, so we're doing some Photoshop and iMovie with green screen as well. So they each have about 3 to 4 days at each rotation, and so then by the time that comes around, then we're done with our class. Just exposed, yep. I'm just exposing them to it, and then again next year with my new position with tech integration, I'm really hoping to go in the classroom and dig a lot deeper. And so some of like those lesson plans I showed you with, you know, like the Sphero with the physics and all the geometry and stuff with that, I want to go a lot deeper into that because right now I'm just exposing them to it. Right. Yep.
If there are any other questions, I'll give you the mic because we have people on Zoom, so they want to hear your question too. Sorry about that. That's okay. That's okay. Any other questions? Perfect.
Okay.
So we have about 25 minutes or so to play.
Yep.
And we'll have
So I
Annie
have
direct
a
that.
bunch of tools over there. I have some mazes for you as well that you guys can program the spheres through. I'll give you all of these tools, and so it's just kind of a fun play session now.